Welcome back to the Movie Well Marathon. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Mac.
And
Woo.
we're wrapping up another marathon. And I don't recall when this will be post wise, but it's our last marathon for the year.
It'll be after the Prince Caspian movie.
Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
hmm
okay. I don't know when this is for everyone listening. It's probably mid-January, honestly.
Okay.
But so
I'd love it if you release these in August after you said that.
okay, I can work on that. Um,
Yeah.
in order to do that, we'd have to go back and rewatch The Quiet Place so I can use that as one of the other marathons since we still have to do that. Anyway, that's behind the scenes jokes. We're on the Chronicles of Narnia, Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Came out December 10th, 2010. That's from where we are. That was
Wow.
6 days
Almost
ago,
exactly
16
15
years ago, or 15 years ago, 6 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's crazy. It came out December 10th, 2010,
It looks
and
good still for that. Holy cow.
we'll get to it.
Just thinking
Um,
about the ooh.
we'll get to it.
Okay.
Directed by
Movie movie.
Michael Apted. I think I said his name right.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, starring, of course, Georgie Henley and Skander Keenis. I think I said it right that time. Ben Barnes, introducing now Will Poulter. My God, what a glow up. William Mosley. That's not true. We'll come back to that. And Anna Popplewell for a second. And, of course, Tilda Swinton again for some stupid reason. And then, yeah, Liam Neeson's in there for, again, like a second. And apparently Simon Pegg, I didn't catch that, is now
Pegg is
cheap. I love Simon Pegg. I did miss the guy who voiced him. The guy who voiced him last movie is better. Sorry, Simon Pegg. I love Simon Pegg.
Yeah. He does a good job stepping in, but I think the character as established in Caspian is a little bit better voice wise.
He's
There's nothing
really
wrong
good
with this one.
No,
It's just not as strong.
If it was reversed, it would almost be better. I don't know. Like, again, love Simon Pegg, but like there's more. I don't like. He captured, what's his name? I want to get his name. There's more chivalry, if you can. Like it's more knight-ish. The guy who voices him, the last one. It just works better for me. I want to find him real quick. Where is he? Why is it so low?
I can't remember the last name, but I'm pretty sure Izzy is the first name.
I know who he is because he's in Ocean's 13. He's in a bunch of stuff, but he's in Ocean's 13, and I really, really like his character in that. Oh yeah, Eddie Izzard. Izzard?
Oh yeah, that's
Eddie
it.
Izzard? Yeah, there he is.
Eddie Izzard.
Eddie Izzard. Anyway, yeah, so we're on Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Sorry for such a long intro. This is my first time ever seeing this movie. I didn't care for it.
A long sign. Okay. Rude.
I don't hate it as much as I did Prince Caspian. I really didn't. But like,
Okay. Interesting.
I don't know. I don't want to hop in immediately to my bitching and complaining. Okay. I think if I could immediately just like, without spoiling, without getting into like all of the nitpicks, all of the details, I could summarize my thought with what we said last week, which is Narnia got filmmakers that were too good for Narnia. Because I imagine a lot of my issues with this movie stem from what's actually from the books. And I think this Dawn Treader is more what Narnia should have been the whole time. And Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is just so magnificent that I think they did too well. Because I'll stop there because I could then keep going. So like I want to hear your thoughts. You seem to have more positive thoughts. You're more into this franchise. I want to hear what you think.
Yeah, it's really hard to separate my experience of these movies from my experience with the books. Not because the movies and the books are so similar, but because I've read the franchise so much as a kid that every time I watched one of these movies, it was informed by literally years of knowledge of how the plot of the books interact with each other and interact with the adaptations into the films. Voyage of the Dawn Treader is one in particular that I think is an interesting one to have that kind of knowledge set with, because like I mentioned last week, Voyage of the Dawn Treader, the movie, the film, it makes significant rearrangements from what the plot of the book is. And that's largely because the plot of the book is almost like a journal of like the different places they visit on this, kind of like journey on the voyage of the Dawn Treader, the Dawn Treader itself. And there is a general overarching plot. Like they do want to find the Seven Lords, and eventually they find Ramanu's Island, and they realize that they have to like kind of chase out this darkness. But that kind of happens almost incidentally as they're going. There's a second mission that Caspian has in the book of just trying to get a census and a read of the Narnian territories that are in the Eastward Sea. So it's largely just about like he needs to know that, well, one, he needs the Territies to know that he is, the king of Narnia, and that he would like to make sure that they are operating okay and operating underneath the flag of Narnia, which is why the whole like slave island in the first part of the movie is pretty irrelevant. But it's stuff that you don't use as context if you haven't read the book. And so even though the plot of the movie is significantly altered from the plot of the book, and even though I think you can enjoy the movie without having read the book, reading the book kind of enriches the experience in a way that I think benefits the overall film, because you can kind of see like the gears at work in the background. A lot of what they do in this movie is done largely because it happens in the book and they have to work it in somewhere, not because it works toward the missed plot line. Because the missed plot line is largely created for the movie and is not in the book. So I don't know. It's hard to put into words if you've not read the book, and I think that's what I'm running into right now. But I like the changes because I think it makes a better film. But there are certain things that happen in the film that if you don't have context for them, or if you're not like hearing the narration of the book over that moment, I don't think it's as rich as if if you were just watching the film having no knowledge of the book. The best example I can think of this is Eustace as a dragon, because Eustace as a dragon is a fantastic part that I'd absolutely want to talk about more in depth for the film. But in the book, he's only a dragon for the length of time they're on a particular island. And he gets transformed back into a boy before doing anything really significant as a dragon. He's able to help them like carry around some heavy things, and he's able to become useful well as a dragon. So that arc is still the same, but the actual application of it is pretty different in the book. And the moment of him being a dragon is much shorter in the book. He doesn't have a fight with a sea serpent as a dragon in the book. And it's more about his arc as a character than it is about sort of like the adventure that's happening on the Dawn Treader. So that's sort of like the best way I can think of to sort of encapsulate the main difference between the film and the book. The book is just sort of like a series of little mini adventures, and the book tries to take those mini adventures and make them one big long thing. And there are some pros and some cons to that. The pro being you're on the hook a little bit more earlier in the film and you want to finish the film because you have something that's like an unanswered question. The cons being there are a lot of things that happen in the film that feel kind of like side quests rather than the main focus, because you've shifted the focus away from just sort of like exploration into more of like you have to solve this problem.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and I would add quite a bit to that. I mean, I can't agree or disagree with the book thing. I've yet to read it. Um, but I guess I don't know. I walk away just kind of confused, like just
Mm-hmm.
wholly. And like I just don't understand. I don't even know why you'd make this like this, because the I'm trying to think of how to focus my thoughts here. So starting from the beginning, it seems to be maybe a year, maybe since
All
Caspian,
right.
like for Edmund and
Maybe a little
Lucy,
longer, but not a lot.
maybe for
Mm-hmm.
because for Caspian it's only been 3. So what the hell is going on there? Because those rules have
There is
been
no
completely shattered.
There is no rule about 1 year in England is 3 years in Narnia or anything like that.
Then
It's
what the
just
hell?
it's
Then what the hell happened
that's
last
true
time?
even in the books. There
What
is
the
no
hell?
the timeline of Narnia is not locked on the same path as
Oh.
our timeline
Oh.
or the timeline of
Okay, so it
England.
just speeds up and
It's
stops. Is
just
it a Jeremy Bear me and we happen to be on Tuesday? Is that what it was?
yes,
That's infuriating.
yes,
That is so plot convenient. I hate
sorry.
that.
That's what it is.
Okay, fine. 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 Okay, fine. So Edmund and Lucy are hanging out with Eustace, who is he's a real little shit, but Will Poulter's doing great.
I love it. I love it. He's the definition of perfectly cast because the part of Eustace
Yeah.
is such a difficult part.
Uh-huh.
Like you have to be incredibly irritating and yet endearing.
Mhm.
Like you have to make that switch work in real time.
Mhm.
And Poulter does it. And
Mhm.
I've loved Will Poulter since seeing this film as a kid because it is genuinely such a good version of Eustace. Eustace Clarence Scrub I think is C.S. Lewis's sort of like he takes the worst version of himself and puts it in Eustace Clarence. And the reason
Okay.
I think that is because the first line of Voyage of the Dawn Treader is there was once a boy named Eustace Clarence Scrub, and he almost deserved it. And yeah. And C.S. Lewis's name is Clive Staples Lewis, and he
Ooh.
famously hated it.
Ooh.
Yeah. He
Ooh.
had all his friends call him Jack.
Okay.
So I think he takes all the parts of himself that don't cooperate with the harmonious sides of life, with the trust and the faith part of life, and he puts it in Eustace. And he forces Eustace to go through a character arc where he has to deal with the reality of the situation that he's been put in, which is something that he would not have believed possible before. And through that character arc, we actually come to appreciate him and maybe even
Mhm.
see ourselves in him a little bit. It's a great character because you start hating him and you end kind of liking him,
Mhm.
maybe kind of hoping that he comes back later, you
Mhm.
know? It's good.
For sure. I don't disagree. I think we're getting so weird with what Narnia includes and like what this overarching deep magic is doing because like there's a prophecy in the first one. Fine.
Uh-huh.
There's this group of four
Uh-huh.
kids that kind of have this connection maybe to this world because they're connected to this prophecy. And then in the next one, they're summoned back, despite having spent a lot of time there, and the magic never bringing them back for that. They're summoned by Caspian, and then in this one, they just show up. And this movie does not elaborate at all on why. And
Mhm.
that's infuriating to me because then Aslan is like, "All right, get out. You've both learned what you can." What do you mean? What do you mean? Edmund maybe has some sort of thing about not being tempted by gold, but like
Mhm.
I don't I will not take that he has gone through some sort of story where he's realized he doesn't want to be a king. That's bullshit. Like that's not what
Yeah,
happens.
no,
That's
okay,
and
I take issue the worst thing, sorry to interrupt. I think
you're
this is
good. You're good.
relevant and I think you're going to move on, so I want to jump in. The worst thing about these movie as adaptations, and worst is kind of a strong way to put it, but it genuinely is the worst thing about these movie adaptations, is that they never expressed the fact that when in England, the Pevensies do not feel
Mm-hmm.
like kings and queens of Narnia, and
Yeah.
they remember their times in Narnia and they talk about their times in Narnia, and it's not like that part of their life doesn't exist for them, but it feels distant to them in a way that their current lives don't feel distant, right? They are actively involved in what they are currently doing in England, and they care about their lives in England in a way that they don't care about their lives in Narnia, even though they do treasure those memories.
Mm-hmm.
These movies, especially Prince Caspian and Voyage to the Dawn Treader, intentionally start by introducing conflict for the Pevensies in England that they miss being kings and queens in Narnia. And
Mm-hmm.
it genuinely sets the tone wrong for the
Mm-hmm.
lessons and experiences they're supposed to be having in Narnia. They're
Mm-hmm.
not supposed to feel like after their time being kings and queens in the golden age of Narnia, they're not supposed to feel like they are missing something. They have had their allotted time and they are satisfied with it. They miss it, but they are satisfied. You know, like at the end of a really good meal, you don't want to eat more, but you do like kind of think about how good it was, right? And these movies completely shoot that idea in the foot in the first 30 seconds of both of
Yeah.
them. And
Well, I
that's if I have beef with these films, it's that. They need to really back that off because otherwise they're genuinely ruining it. You as a movie viewer without having read the books do not understand that this is supposed to be a different vibe entirely than how they're portraying it. And because you're feeling like they miss Narnia constantly and permanently, when they have to leave permanently, it feels deeply unfair. Even
yeah.
though if you read the books, that is not how it is presented. So like that's a problem.
It's
That's a problem.
weird. Yeah, like even in the books though, with like what the little tidbits that you've given me here and there, I don't like that. It doesn't make any sense. They're allotted time in this realm that they made their home. That's stupid. Like it's because again, we see in the last two movies that people just live in this world. It's just a world
Mhm.
that also somehow is connected, I guess, to maybe what heaven. I don't know, which is just bizarre that these people that you allowed into your realm, Aslan, you've now decided can't stay here, even though they fit in just fine and they do really well, and they don't want to be back home. Fine, that's a fault of the movie, but still, that's a fault of the movie.
Yeah.
And
It is a
Ed-
fault.
Edmund's lesson is strange, and I don't think there is one. And
No, there's not
Lucy's
really one.
Lucy's whole thing of like being comfortable with who she is, I don't understand why we have done that, because Lucy has to be at oldest 12. Like this is like clearly she's not in this movie, but she's like at most 9 in the first one, and I honestly think she's supposed to be younger. But say she's 9, which
Mhm.
means she's 10 in the next one because it's only a year later. If it's a year or two later, she's now 12, and she's dealing with
Mhm.
wanting to be cute and maybe talk to boys. I get that that's a thing that kids go through at that age, but her being so desperate to look like Susan is strange. Oh, that's in the books. That's still strange because the movie is portraying it
Yeah.
as this beautiful young woman desperately wants to look like this beautiful young woman. Like, what are you doing? This is so weird. And it's like, and the only way
Yeah.
she gets past it is because another weird little kid somehow snuck onto this boat that is swarming with really experienced sailors. Like, that's strange. That's just weird. And they keep taking that kid places where they really shouldn't. Like, I don't know. It's just,
Gale is a movie invention. Yeah.
that's weird.
That whole family is a movie invention
That's
to keep
weird.
you on the hook about the mists. Um, I don't know. Like there are some positive moments that come out of it. Like if I'm giving it grace, I do feel like Gale there are some soft good moments between Gail and like the rest of the story that I think, you know, she kind of provides a heart to it that maybe you wouldn't have without her, in the sense that like Caspian and Lucy and Edmund are all hardened adventurers, all the sailors are, you know, sort of like, you know, they're strong men. They deal with issues, whereas Gail just misses her mom and her dad. And so that there's a softness to her that she provides to the film. Largely though, she's just kind of like underfoot in a way that she really
Mm,
shouldn't be,
mm,
and it's because the movie added her to be that softness and didn't fully think through what she was going to provide beyond that or do beyond that. um Lucy's arc about, you know, vanity essentially, um it makes more sense in the book, but it was always something that as a kid I felt was kind of silly, because there's not really any indication that Lucy in Caspian or The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe has a thing with beauty or looks.
Yeah.
She's not like jealous of Susan by any sort of measure. And then in Voyage of the Dawn Treader, she just shows up and she is. And like, hey, maybe it is because she's getting to that stage of life where she starts to care about her appearance a little bit more. Maybe it is just a general commentary on like, you know, teenage girl adolescence. And that's a part, caring about your appearance is absolutely a part of adolescence. And so it's not like it's totally surprising. It just doesn't feel super in line with Lucy as a character because she's always been so earnest and valiant. And it does kind of come out of nowhere just because we need her to like learn a lesson with the
Yeah.
spells, I
It
guess.
also,
I don't know.
yeah, it also,
That's, yeah.
even if you want to include that in the book, it's forgetting a massive detail, which I don't think is unfair to point out. Lucy knows what she's going to look like. She's already seen it.
Mm-hmm.
She knows what she'll look like when she grows up. Like, she already knows that she will be lovely if she looks the way she does at the end of the first movie. Because they all do. They all grow up into nice, handsome, beautiful young adults.
Well, the way that vanity is not about reality. Vanity is about perception, right?
But in this movie, we're not getting Susan is pretty, but Lucy is not. We're getting, like, she's just wanting attention, it seems, from people as a whole to consider her beautiful, and she is wanting it to be Susan. That's what she wants to be perceived as. But Susan's not even in the story. So it's very odd.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, as you said, it comes out of nowhere. It goes nowhere, and that's the lesson that God Lion decided to plop her into the middle of a magical ocean during a mission to fight some sort of evil to learn. That's strange. That's really strange. He pulled her across the dimensional plane to teach her about vanity, and then decided that this supposedly 12 or 13-year-old has no more things to learn from this land of Narnia. That is insane. That is just weird.
Well, and it's there's a balance to it that I think the movies maybe don't show super well. But like when the Pevensies are called to Narnia, or in general when human children are called to Narnia, it's in part because they need Narnia, and in part because Narnia needs them. And that is a little like storybook, right? Like again, we're working with the suspension of disbelief that's about nursery rhymes and childhood fairy tales. We're talking, Percy Jackson, 12-year-old demigod can take on forces of evil that, a man couldn't even imagine. But like the reason I always read for Lucy and Edmund being a part of the Voyage of the Dawn Treader is because Caspian needed them there, not because they needed to be there.
Why?
And in the book, it's a little bit clearer that Caspian is kind of lost. He's on this mission on paper because he wants to reunite the kingdom and he wants to find the lords. But he's also kind of on the mission because he's not really sure that he has what it takes to be the king of Narnia. He's feeling the pressure and he wants a bit of a break. And so he gets away from his court, he gets away from the mainland, and he spends time on the ship doing kind of like what is relatively a simple task. Find some guys, take a census. And the arrival of Edmund and Lucy, who basically just sort of like cheerlead him on the rest of the journey. They're like, yeah, you're making good decisions. Gives him the confidence that he needs to go back to Narnia and be a good king. Like there's a lesson for Caspian in the book about like not avoiding your responsibilities. And they don't do that at all. And the film,
like if that's the thing, I don't see why you wouldn't pull Peter and just Peter. Like
interesting.
if you're wanting the main man to help you feel like legitness and really emphasize it, because like, the king who shirks responsibilities. You really think that Edmund and all that time as the second king never shirked any responsibilities? Also, he's the one that has that bit of a checkered past. You're gonna pull him? He doesn't have anything to learn anymore, so that already isn't tracking. And like, I don't know. So similar to last week.
I think it's important to have I mean, Edmund and Lucy, without Susan and Peter being representative of the golden age of Narnia and giving Caspian his blessing, sort of abstractly, I think that kind of works. Because if Susan and Peter are the only ones you ever called, then there is no weight to Edmund and Lucy being the king and queen of Narnia.
Yeah,
But if
but
they're pulled and their blessings are given and that's enough.
But you're already making it weird because in order for Edmund and Lucy to have weight, you have to remove half of them. You have to remove Peter and Susan. You could include all four, remove that stupid rule where the other two can't be there, and just write more significant things for them to do. Say in the last year and a half, I won't start rewriting everything. It's just, I think there are ways to do it. There are ways you could have included all of them. There are ways that, maybe, no, I'm already rewriting it. Never mind. Okay, so I don't love what we're doing here. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And going back into the actual movie, because I know I haven't been, we're already halfway through. If I could just quick fire a few things. Oh, Edmund, doesn't that boat look very Narnian? Now, granted, I haven't seen a Narnian boat. However, I don't think that looks very Narnian. For one, it's purple and green, which is not very well. Because of the studio change, as you indicated last week, I think we've lost a significant everything.
Really? I thought it looked really good.
I don't think the boat looks good. I think the boat looks weirdly playful. The tone from Caspian as well has whiplashed back to really
Caspian
playful.
Is not supposed to be that dark.
Okay, well the movie was, so I mean you could try to.
I know.
You could remember that's where we're starting, or like that's the middle of this trilogy is we got real dark. So let's find a way to balance that because we don't.
This might help. Did you watch the credits at all? Like at all?
I didn't watch the ending of it. No. Well, I saw some of the art, but I
it's not like. Yeah, that's what I mean. The art is art original to an edition of the book. Like those are the illustrations that I grew up with looking at on the pages of the book. So if you think about those illustrations as a baseline for what the world of Narnia should look like, Voyage of the Dawn Treader is much closer than Caspian is.
Okay, sure. I'll take that. If the Dawn Treader looks like that in the artwork, then I'm critiquing the artwork of the Dawn Treader because I don't think that boat looks all that good. We said something similar about the Queen Anne's Revenge for Pirates 5, that it looks too proppy for me. It doesn't look as...
I love it.
I don't want to hate on it. I just don't think it looks like what I would have expected a beautiful, magnificent Narnian ship to be. And I think that's because of just the change in studio. I think everything has taken a hit. Like, the cinematography isn't as beautifully magical. The costumes aren't even close. Like, and then the music doesn't even come close to me. Nothing musically stood out to me. Like
the music is shallower. I will totally give you that, because the only times the music stood out to me in this one is when they used old themes from the previous two films, which means that they didn't do anything good.
Like nothing stands out. And then, despite being 5 years after the first one, I think all of the special effects are worse, and I don't understand how. Like, Aslan is somehow more uncanny, especially in the mirror. His mouth doesn't move the same way. It doesn't seem as believable. It's bizarre. Like, when he's on the beach, visually, the lion looks good, but when he's supposed to be talking, it feels strange. The Minotaur that we have on the boat, half the time it looks like a great big dude that they put a robotic head on. The other half, he's fully CGI. And both times, I don't think it looks as good as the Minotaurs they did in the last two movies. I just don't. And the mist CGI is not great. The water CGI is fine, but like in my mind, this movie feels like a love child of a Disney Channel original and a sci-fi original movie, like a made-for-TV movie. Because I don't like the design of the dragon. I don't like the design of any of the creatures in this. I don't. Because
really?
I cannot picture that dragon in the first movie. The first movie, I would argue, is an example of some of the best fantasy creature designs, bar none. And I cannot picture that dragon with the rest of them because it's too cartoonish. It's just too. I don't know. And
I don't know. I think with the dragon design in particular, I liked that he still had human palms, and I liked that he had human eyes. And honestly, like the weird, like sort of like I don't know what else to call them, floppy
The
parts of the
floppy bits all
design,
over his
kind of
head.
endearing to me. Like, because like dragon design, I don't know. Dragon design gets so sort of like what is the word I'm looking for? It gets to a point with dragon design where it's all sharp angles and teeth and spikes and shiny, and it's like an over-designed knife blade or something, you know? Like, it doesn't have to look that edge lord to be cool.
Mm,
And this was a dragon design that highlighted the environment the dragon kind of came from. It's gold and dirt.
mm-hmm.
And it has character eyes because it's about the character who's kind of suffering through it, and he can't talk, so he has
Mm,
to be able to communicate through body language somehow. And it's kind of about like I mean, weirdly, the body horror of it.
mm-hmm,
This
mm-hmm.
is not a dragon. This is a kid trapped in a dragon. And I kind of liked that it was clumsy and unusual because that's how Eustace would be as a dragon.
I see what you're saying, and I'm not trying to disagree with that. I feel like an example of different and clumsy in a good way, I think, is Lupin's werewolf. But that still looks good as like something newish. I don't think this looks that good. I get weird
This
about
might
dragon
just be a
design.
fundamental disagreement because
Yeah.
I don't like his werewolf.
Oh, really? I really okay. Okay.
Mm. I
I
mean, it looks spooky. I just don't like
mm,
it's not a design
okay.
that I would choose.
Okay. Okay. I see. I don't. It's not an edge lord thing, but I like when the dragons are sharp and pointy because I like when dragons lean into the reptilian. I think it makes them look more. I don't like when you've got a mixture of the scales, the horns, the pointiness, but also really round, soft areas. It makes it seem like a cartoon, and nothing in Narnia has been like that so far. Everything has felt like not only a mythical, magical creature that still seems tactile, but it also looks like a believable organism, which I like. This doesn't do that for me, which is fine if that's just a me thing.
Fair.
I'll take that, but I don't like it.
No, I would agree that it feels less grounded than maybe the other things we've been presented in Narnia, but I would also argue the things we've been presented in Narnia are inherently more grounded for the most part. Like the most sort of elevated monster we've seen before the dragon would be like the river god that shows up at
Yeah,
the end of Castle.
something like that. Sure.
And that you can do in a sort of like abstract way
Hmm.
by making a man out of like waves and a dragon. You either have to go full sharpness or you go with more of the character choices like they
Hmm.
did go with.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the sea serpent?
I don't love it.
Really? I
I,
like it. I
I,
like that it's different.
I'm torn on that idea because,
Mhm.
and on one hand, I like that it seems kind of like a combo of aquatic creatures, but again, I think it's a little too vibrant. Maybe is the word. Um,
Really?
just a little. Like I felt like again, it's many years later, and I think that Chamber of Secrets does a little boy with a sword fighting a serpent better, and I think part of that is because they built a robot for the basilisk, so there were some practical shots of it. It didn't help that Edmund kills it the exact same way. I was like, come on now, you do something different, because like you're going to be compared to it regardless. Don't stab him through the roof of the mouth. Do something different. Um,
That is one of the things, like, what is my note about this? There's yeah, I do miss the original version of the sea serpent fight. Um, and Eustace's dragon form gets more use in this version. But the original version of the sea serpent is not that it's a creation of the mists. It just is a monster
I
that
would prefer they
exists
do
in the
that
seas of
because in
Narnia.
the
Yeah.
movie, if you want to say
Mhm.
that Prince Caspian needs Edmund, the only thing that Edmund does is kill a thing that he inadvertently created. So
Yeah.
don't love that. I don't know. I didn't want to hate the sea serpent because there's a lot of cool creature design. It's one of those things where like creature design A plus. I just don't think it works in
Okay.
this world like aesthetically. Like
Oh,
I get weird
I don't know.
about
I think
a
I
consistent
like it.
visual aesthetic for creatures in mythical worlds, and I don't think it meshes well with this world. Again, that may just be
Narnia may
me.
not be great for you
I'm learning
overall.
that
Then.
because the other thing that
Yeah.
really threw me were the one-footed trolls, because that's not something
Yeah.
I was so that's another kind of thing I have, which is
Wait, I'm curious. Take me back to the beginning of that scene. What was going through your head when the
I
footsteps
thought
show up on the
I
sand?
thought, oh my goodness, these weird invisible giants. This is so interesting. I can't wait to see what they look like. Clearly, from the voice and dialogue, they're not that smart. They're probably not that violent. But I was not anticipating that they were one-footed troll creatures. Because again, I can't picture those standing next to Mr. Tumnus or the beavers, or being there during the battle of those two armies. Because like, so that I understand what you said before, and we're getting
Mhm.
like episodic journal entries of the different islands we visit. And being a land of magic and whatever, it's fine. But this movie feels like part of it for 10 minutes is the Prince of Persia when we're on the slave trade island, which goes almost nowhere.
Mhm.
Then it feels like Alice in Wonderland on the island with the one-footed
Mhm.
trolls and the magician. I'm sure he's like the magician. Oh my gosh, it's really cool to see him. I can't wait to meet his nephew. And then the next one feels like the island with the gold and the dragon. It feels
No.
like Indiana Jones, which again, other than the dragon doing some cool dragon stuff, doesn't go anywhere. We're introducing cool magic things, but like none of these feel like they would exist in the world we've already spent two movies in. And I get it, they're in the books. This world is more ridiculous than I thought, and it's how they get to Narnia too that immediately felt weird because that feels like Alice in Wonderland again. Not that they can't do things
Mhm.
like Alice in Wonderland. It's just the last two movies have done things I think differently and feel
Mhm.
different, like Narnia. Like I understand opening a door into another world is not unique to Narnia. I get that. But like it's the way that the wardrobe was portrayed and the way they walk through the forest when they get there and then there's the lamppost. Oh, like everything felt interesting. The subway disintegrating into the cave was interesting. Watching this movie, I was just like, well, this feels like this. And this feels like this. This feels familiar to this. This feels familiar to that. I haven't done that with Narnia yet. You know, like it felt like Narnia. This doesn't feel like Narnia. And I get that's more me thing, but I have a lot of
No,
that
that
for
I
this
think
one.
that's a fair critique because Voyage of the Dawn Treader, like, I don't know, talking about this with you is really interesting because my perspective on the film is so colored by my perspective on the book
Mm,
that trying to be clear about what critiques I have for the book, the story, like both of them, or the movie is really hard to do. This, I think, is an overall critique, maybe rooted more in the book than even the movie, because the movie, it's not the movie's fault that they're adapting this book, right?
right, right.
This book has never really been one of my favorites. I do enjoy reading it because it's kind of like a snack of a story almost. But it's never been the richest, deepest version of Narnia for me. You get that from The Magician's Nephew. You get that from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. You get that from, in my opinion, which is controversial, The Horse and His Boy. Like there are stories in Narnia and the Narnian Chronicles that are deeply invested in like the world building aspect of the story. Deeply invested in the sense that like they are using the details created in the story to tell the story. Voyage of the Dawn Treader is much more like, what's some fun, crazy stuff that we could put in Narnia? Let's do that and explore that. And it's not really designed for consistency or later development. It's just let's explore some weirdness. Let's do some weird things. Let's say the further out from the mainland you get, the weirder it gets. And so there are no rules. And that's kind of the mentality that they pursue in this novel. And so trying to in Voyage of the Dawn Treader, they tried to make it take itself more seriously by providing this running thread of the mist. The mist is not a thing in the book. In the book, there is a dark island that haunts them, and the White Witch shows up, but it's just one on a stop. like one stop on their journey. And the main drive through is that Caspian has islands he needs to go see as king, and that he would like to figure out where the Seven Lords of Rivian, I think, went. And that makes I'm pretty sure Ramandu's island shows up late in the story. It's been a few years. And the only thing that you really take out of this story is that Eustace has now been introduced to Narnia. Reepicheep has a bit of a character arc. Reepicheep has a bit of a character arc. And Caspian basically gets a wife out of this story.
He marries the star. He marries the star.
Yeah. He marries the star.
Oh my god.
And I mean, that's another thing that you probably are bothered by, but like all the stars in Narnia are canonically people. Like they are conscious beings that dance in the sky.
See, I that doesn't bother me.
Okay.
Because it's just I think you could portray that in the first Narnia movie and still be just as magnificently elegant and magical as everything there. It's just that's so ridiculous. Like, I mean, I don't hate it. It's just in this, because it's in this movie, it feels like Stardust but worse. Like that's again, special effects wise, they're just making her blue. Like it's not good.
I mean, she does kind of look like a blue fairy in the illustrations. And she's blonde and she wears a blue dress.
I don't mean to hate. Okay, well, that's not entirely true. But I'm not.
Yeah, you kind of.
I don't mean to hate on the actor for the star. I don't. But the whole thing is like, I haven't met a lady prettier than Susan. Lucy then meets a star. I don't really think
Susan and Caspian aren't supposed to have a love story.
Well, all I'm saying is I don't think they did really well to make the star somehow look prettier than Susan.
Interesting. The beauty of the star is definitely a factor, but there's also the element that she's a caretaker of her own land, which is a part of what makes Caspian like interested in her.
I'm sorry, what? The stars have land?
Like Ramandu's island is her father's island.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll be honest, and maybe this is just, I think this is a more recent thought than it is anything. And again, no shade to the actress, no shade to even what they, as it is presented in the movie, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. The name Ramandu made me kind of think Indian descent. And I do feel like it's a little weird that we get a blonde, blue-eyed chick who is a descendant of Ramandu. But
okay,
that's fine. Yeah. I think it's supposed to be like a coloring thing, right? Like she's supposed to look like a white star in the sky.
I get what they're doing with the blue and the magic. I just think the special effects could have been a lot better, and the name could be better for sure. And then in the movie, Caspian just has the hot spur because of her appearance, and she says in the movie she can change her appearance. That's ridiculous. Yeah. That's so shallow.
Yeah, it's very quick. They do a bit more with it in the book, but it's honestly not a lot. Caspian is a very sweet character, and I like his interactions with Lucy and Edmund and Reepicheep and Eustace. But ultimately, he is not as developed as potentially you would want him to be. You meet him as a young prince who has just been thrown out of his house because his uncle's going to kill him, and he's floundering to find meaning in a new set of morality, right? Because the old one doesn't work anymore. The idea of loyalty to a family doesn't work because his family has betrayed him. But you never really get to see Caspian as king. And honestly, the next time you kind of get a bit of tidbit about him is from the perspective of his son, Brillian, who honestly seems like he could have used a better father figure in his life. So there's a lot about Caspian that he's not really top 10 Narnian characters for me. I love Ben Barnes and Ben Barnes' portrayal of Caspian, and I love Caspian in Voyage of Dawn Treader because you just kind of get like the light, fun side of him that is learning to be a good person. But it like my favorite tend to be like the original four Tumnus. I really like Eustace. I like Jill a lot. Um, and it's a total shame that we never saw her. Tristan is fantastic. There's so many good characters, and Caspian takes up a lot of like quote unquote screen time. So people
Mm-hmm.
assume he's like the best Narnian king or Narnian character, and I don't really know if C.S. Lewis ever really knew what he was doing with
Mm.
Caspian.
Interesting.
Being honest, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
We haven't talked about Reba Cheap and Eustace's relationship though, and I feel
Yeah.
like that is a bright spot in the film.
Sure. I mean,
It's honestly delightful.
it's delightful. It's cute. I like that Reaper Cheap is here.
Mhm.
I miss that voice actor, and he's doing cool things. He's a fun little mentor, and I like the fight, like training scene with Eustace. And Eustace is
Mhm.
funny, and he's an interesting perspective. But I don't like again what Aslan or Narnia seems to be doing of like, oh, we may have use for you yet, dude who just randomly fell into the ocean with our kings and queens. Like, are you really gonna tell me that he was also destined for this? It's just this family
Yeah,
that has anything to do with Narnia, no other kids from Earth?
read the books.
Okay, fine. Yeah, so
Um, but Eustace, like the Eustace thing, I think you're maybe just not thinking that through. Lucy and Edmund hung out in her room constantly, and the portrait never triggered.
oh
It wasn't
good
until all three
lord.
of them were there.
Fine.
Yeah.
But what do they need him for? Because you already said that he wasn't a dragon for very long. So like all the dragon stuff he does in this movie is added.
he he becomes a better person after being a dragon and does play useful roles in the story. Nothing crazy. He's not like the hero by any means. But he is an example of how Narnia can be for the character as much as the character can be for Narnia. Like he's going through a character arc. Like Edmund and Lucy, there are a couple lessons kind of thrown in there for them in Voyage of Dawn Treader, the novel. Um, it's a little bit trite. They're largely there because Narnia and really Caspian needs them to be there. Eustace is there because he needs to learn from Narnia. And then the next time that he goes to Narnia, Narnia needs him. So it's kind of like a give and take sort of situation.
Okay, I guess. Sure.
Him as the Narnian guide is so funny though, because he do you care about, I mean, it's a minor spoiler.
I mean, I'll read the books. I'm gonna get to it. I have them all.
Okay. All right. The silver chair is again not one of my favorites necessarily. There's nothing wrong with it. I prefer like the weird ones, like the horse and his boy. But there's like the dynamic between Eustace and the other character from London that goes with him
Okay. Okay.
is it's a new dynamic that
Okay.
it's fun
I
in the
will. I
story.
will look
Yeah.
forward to it. And I look. I am sorry for complaining and shitting on a franchise and a story that you like quite a bit. My only excuse is Andrew Adams and whoever the hell else worked on that first movie has set a certain standard in my head for what Narnia is,
Sure.
what it looks like, and what it feels like. And if that's not what Narnia was supposed to be, I can understand and respect that, but it's ruined the other movies for me.
I think, and this is me like speaking maybe for you a little bit, so apologies if I get it wrong. But I think what's happened is you watched the details and the thoughtfulness in the first one, and you extrapolated what the rest of the world would look like
Yeah.
without extra information.
Yeah. I
And
spit that for sure.
that's I mean, that's totally fair because that's what you would expect from anything. But having a baseline of knowing what the books were like, it's a lot easier to sort of categorize those details as like movie extra added things versus things that are true to the original tone of the book. The Narnia, as epic as the Narnia stories can be, they are ultimately kind of like bedtime stories. They
Look
have
all you
epic elements
said.
to them, but they're far more The Hobbit than they are Lord of the Rings. And I think you've provided like Lord of the Rings level lore around that
Well,
first movie, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe,
yeah. I
and
I guess
it's way more Hobbit.
yeah. What I think what I thought Narnia was all of the best bits of Lord of the Rings and all of the best bits of Harry Potter when it comes to the magic, the elegance, the creature designs, and how like the vibes, the vibes. What I'm finding is it's not more The Hobbit, it's more the worst parts of Harry Potter and the best parts of Alice in Wonderland, which is a massively different vibe than what I am used to. And if that's what it is,
Yeah.
fine. Crazy, fun, hopping through worlds and going on adventures and like I understand that watching this movie, especially as a kid, this is so much fun. This is just a pure adventure romp. Water pouring out of a picture and the boat coming through the picture, like, and that's very fun. That's very cool. I get that. And then like being swooped up by Prince Caspian in the middle of the ocean. That's very fun. And them tracking down swords to put them on the stone table, the different stone table. And we're meeting stars and we're meeting one-footed trolls and powerful wizard men. If I again just want to look at this movie as a movie, it's a little bloated. It seems a little
Mm-hmm.
directionless.
That's a good description.
It's just a tad. The CGI could be better because of what had been. The practical effects are not as good. All uh I can't think of the right word, but I will table my complaint on the boat design and the dragon design. Okay, so like a kid becoming a dragon, very fun, very adventurous. The pool of gold, very very fun, very adventurous. Um, so I get there's a lot of cool stuff here, especially for little ones. I don't know if it's enough for me because it's the third, and it's always a bummer when a trilogy seems to keep going downhill in its overall quality. Like every movie I have more questions instead of less. Like Narnia, it seems can just pluck the children out of England, but then Aslan has to make portals for them to go back. Like I don't. It just
Kind of, yeah.
it seems a little bit weird. And then this movie again has Lucy has to ask Aslan for help, which he really didn't need to even be in here. He's only here to make a portal for them to go back, which I almost feel like you didn't need to include Aslan at all. Maybe I don't know. This is like the first time that Aslan really didn't need to be here, but at the same time, it seems that he probably could have fixed this on his own in the movie. I mean, since this is a whole misty thing that I bet he could have fixed.
The hmm. I think oh, this feels wrong to say, but the Narnia vibe is more Magic Treehouse than it is like
Ah,
Harry Potter.
okay.
Um, it's about returning casting characters sometimes. It's about learning what you need to learn or doing what you need to do for the specific mission. But it doesn't really build up to like an epic battle.
Hmm.
There is a big climactic end to it, but that end is not created through the plot of the previous books. Each book is sort of its own self-contained adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think maybe is what prevented it from becoming such a successful movie franchise like all the other ones were at the time. Like Harry Potter was super successful at the same time that the Narnia films were coming out. And the Narnian films were maybe struggling because they didn't have that overarching plot. There was no
Mm-hmm.
big bad to ultimately defeat across all of the films. Maybe that's why they kept resurrecting the White Witch. To be fair, the White Witch is actually present in the Dark Island in the book,
which is
but she's not
strange.
present in Prince Caspian, and
Mm-hmm.
they invented her. Well, because Edmund's there, and it brings up all your nightmares and worst
Right.
dreams, and his worst version of himself it has to do with the White Witch. So that makes logical sense. That doesn't break any lore
No, no,
things for
no,
her to
not at
be
all.
there.
I
It breaks
thought
lore things for her to be at
yeah,
Caspian.
when they said don't think of anything because your worst fear will come to life, I was like, oh, that's how they bring back the White Witch. That's kind of cool. But no, I feel like they kind of wasted that on
Mm,
the sea serpent, which it's a bit
yeah, no,
strange.
the sea serpent is supposed to be again just like a monster they encounter.
Mm-hmm.
It is not supposed to be like the sum like on the danger of the Dark Island in the book is that you can never leave if you don't know how to get out of the dark. And because your mind's creations become physical, they're like it's a, kind of a combination of a siren song and like a fly trap.
Mm-hmm.
Like you get in there and then just trying to find your way out is nearly impossible. And Aslan actually shows up for that part of the book and gives them a direction so they can get out.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
it's a pretty good scene in the book, but making it the big bad in the film was an attempt to sort of give us more of an overarching plot. And I do think it's the right choice. It just has consequences for some of the smaller events in the story that doesn't translate as well because of it.
because what is it in the movie? The Mist is it's a spell gone bad that for some reason wants sacrifices of people. It's also there watching them the
Yeah,
whole time. Like it
it's just
seems
an evil that needs to be defeated.
that's so lame. Cause I don't know. That feels kind of lame.
Isn't that what life is like, though?
I mean, I
You
guess,
have
but
to
like
handle small little
they
things far more than you have to handle big
they
monsters.
introduced so many cool monsters in this movie on the way to the Mist that could have been like
Yeah.
you could have introduced like we're dealing with slave traders who are selling humans to some sort of other magical creature and we have to go deal with that. You introduce these weird troll creatures that Narnians have never even seen, the mythical creatures to the Narnians perspective, and a wizard who may be an ally, may be a bad guy. How do we deal with that? You introduced an island of gold. What if the seven lords or half the lords ended up on that island and they turned into dragons and we had to deal with those fuckers? But then one of ours becomes a dragon. Now we have a mole on the inside. Like all of this is more interesting than the weird green farts that they have all over the ocean. That ends up being a relatively cool sea creature thing that they just decided to defeat Chamber of Secrets style and kind of hint towards the witch for a second, I guess, because Tilda Swinton probably signed a contract for 3 movies. Go get it, girl. That's just there's and I don't know. I think I'm burned out on this because I'm tired.
Mm.
I'm tired of the whole. Well, I don't know. It works in mysterious ways. That apparently is the rule for Narnia.
It that kind of is the rule. There is no, and I can see how this would bother you fundamentally. And honestly, it's probably things that bothered you about the first Narnia film that were just so minute that it didn't seem like a big deal. But the world building of Narnia is not any particular set of law or expectation. The rule building of Narnia is I want some child characters to go on an adventure in a magical land, and the meaning behind the adventures and the dangers presented are far more important to the story than how those dangers are logically present in the world. So having slavers in Voyage of the Dawn Treader is a commentary on how man can be evil, right? There is an evil that belongs in the heart of men, and it's about not like men versus women, just like people.
Well, yeah, I still don't think
And
that needs commentary. I think that's a given. We had that in the last movie. Sorry, go on.
but like they're handling different types of evil in this, right? And like in the Wizard's Island, it's you think you know what the evil is, and then it turns out that you've been misinformed. And then there's the Dark Island, which is the evil inside yourself, right? Like there are different types of evil that are being explored in Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and they don't need to follow the same rule set because it's not about the rule set; it's about how they present, it's about how they interact with the characters. So Narnia is always way more about how do I communicate the message than how do I create a fantasy world that is consistent to itself. There are going to be inconsistencies inconsistencies because it's not about the physics of Narnia. It's about the meaning and the lessons of Narnia.
I like that analysis of the kind of evil they're fighting. I had not considered that. I like that a lot. I think it still makes for a sloppy movie if you don't balance that right. Probably better for it to be an episodic show kind of thing. Um,
Fair.
so I like
Voyage of
that.
Dawn Treader was never going to make a good movie, I don't think.
Yeah,
To
I
be
mean,
fair.
well, what I kept thinking of it, comparing it to was Sinbad, the animated movie, balances the
Fair.
multiple monsters and multiple adventures in one movie really, really well. This just didn't, in my opinion. But as far as the lessons that Narnia is trying to teach, I don't think it's succeeding in many ways. I don't think it's succeeding. I just don't. I don't. Maybe I just don't get it. Maybe it's. Yeah. They're movies I would like to rewatch. I mean, I've rewatched the first one 100 times, which might be why I'm so attached to it. But
Mm-hmm.
the third one especially, I could give a rewatch and try not to analyze and criticize so strongly. Because there's nothing that, like, other than the special effects, nothing visually annoys me or upsets me the way that Prince
Mm-hmm.
Caspian, the movie, does. I would give Dawn Treader another try. I
Well, and Caspian bothers me because I think Caspian is inconsistent about what it's trying to do message wise, which is why I
Yeah.
get so kind of irritated with the Peter Caspian like
Mm-hmm.
ego off that they have.
Yeah.
Um Voyage of the Dawn Treader is a bit better about it, but it's still, I mean, I guess maybe something that I've forgiven the movies for, even though it weakens the overall story, is that they do compromise message sometimes in the movie versions of the stories for cinematic quality. And I've always understood that to be a necessary sacrifice when you're making a film out of a book. But we've had book adaptations that do not sacrifice thematic quality
Mm-hmm.
for cinematic quality. They're just a lot harder to find.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my final thought on that is that it is totally fair to critique a film for losing thematic messaging for the sake of cinematic element. Um, it's just a common mistake rather
Mm-hmm.
than like a sign of ineptitude, you know? I don't know if that made any sense. It made
I
sense in
mean,
my head.
I kind of get it, and I understand that a great deal of this is a me thing. I do get that. I can't give it a whale though. I just can't.
I give this one a whale. I fight more with the
Yeah,
Caspian one. This one I give a
yeah,
whale.
yeah. Fine. We're kind of at our time. I'm sorry
No,
to be such a
yeah,
downer.
kind of my last thought around the Narnia thing is I love the Narnia movies for being a visual for the Narnia series, but my favorite bits of Narnia are all in the books. Like even with the first one. The first one competes more with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the book, than any of the other ones do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's there's just a particular attitude or style or element to the narration and the storytelling in Narnia that I grew up with and I love. And the movies, for as beautiful and as epic as they can be, they trade that storytelling vibe for the greatness of cinema vibe. And it creates some really cool moments. I mean, like the battle in Prince Caspian is undeniably awesome. And
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing like that other than the trees. There's nothing like that that happens in the book. But that's because the book's not worried about battle strategy and epicness. The book is worried about character growth and development. So there's just an inherent trade-off that I accepted about the Narnian films,
Mm.
and yet do value the books maybe greater for because I that's the heart of Narnia, right? Is in the books, whereas the epicness maybe of Narnia is in the films.
I see that. I guess that it is always a problem with me too. Is especially with films or stories like this, the character growth doesn't matter to me because
Mm,
I'm so fascinated by the world building and the
mm,
artistic representation of that world building. And when you do it so well, I'm so invested and I want more. I don't care what lessons these kids are learning. Like
Yeah.
which is an exaggeration because I do, but it
Mhm.
takes it's not center stage to me compared to the other stuff. Like when I think of Narnia, the first one, I don't think about the lessons these kids learn. I don't think about how they grow closer as a family and how Susan learns to open up and how Edmund learns to not be a traitorous little poisoned shithead, and I don't think about how Peter grows into a man or what. I think about that first shot with the lamppost and Mr. Tumnus with the scarf hanging there with like there's only two colors, the yellow of the lamp and the red of the scarf. I think about the music, the theme. I think about the title with the
Mhm.
curly N and how iconic that looks. I think about how we go from the map when Peter is making the army plan and it changes from the illustration of the map to the sweeping field and the griffin comes into frame. I think of that stuff and I get chills thinking about it
All
because
that stuff.
it's
Yeah.
magnificent. And it's just that's not
All
the
that.
point, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's exactly it. And I hate to tell you because all that stuff is amazing. All that stuff is epic and beautiful. And I love that it's a part of our understanding of Narnia because I think Narnia can be that epic. But again, the purpose of Narnia is not to be epic. The purpose of Narnia is to be a story for kids. And
Fuck them kids.
I
I will
all
read the
right. And on
books.
that note,
I will read the books, and I do imagine I will understand more strongly where you're coming from. If I could just
I
go ahead,
yeah.
go ahead.
I don't know if I'm being totally clear, or totally honest, I don't I do think there are some parts of the books that you will not like.
Well,
Um,
whatever. Yeah,
but I think particularly Voyage of the Dawn Treader will make a little bit more sense if you read it in the book. And I think Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe kind of sets the tone in a way that the first movie m- maybe the way you put it is the best way to put it. Like there's sort of like a visual epicness that's set at a really high bar that again, just not being the main purpose of what Lewis was trying to do with the Narnia Chronicles,
sure,
maybe the other films failed to meet that
sure.
epicness.
I guess if I could try to illustrate my point one more time, just for you to understand where I'm coming from, with the whole like I can't see them together. Can you visualize that bit when Peter says for Aslan and for Narnia on the unicorn, and behind him are the
Okay.
satyrs, the fauns, in their gold and scarlet armor, with Aureus with his armor and his bazillion swords, and standing next to him are these one-footed trolls. Like, do you see how it clashes?
I do, but because the trolls are isolated on the island, I'm not bothered by it.
Okay.
New
Fair
areas of
enough.
Narnia mean new rules, and that's kind of like the general expectation.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. I will check myself. I will. This is.
You're allowed to dislike it. You're 100% allowed to dislike it.
I don't want to. That's the thing. I don't like disliking this franchise that I really liked. I'm gonna have to think of
You can
Narnia, like
always
the first one,
look at
as an
them.
isolated thing.
Try reading the books, then watch the movies again, and see if that brings any difference to your perspective. If it doesn't, then you just like the first film, and that's fine.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay. What a year of marathons we've had.
Seriously,
Yeah,
yeah.
we did some
Is
good
this
ones.
their? Is this roughly like a year and a half, 2 years since we've been doing
We
it?
are actually, yeah, we're hitting a year and a half relatively soon.
Hmm.
Yeah, and like for listeners, it's we've already started 2026, but for us, we're just wrapping up 2025.
Yeah,
It's good stuff.
it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Many more to
Hmm.
come.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye, guys.